Hey friends, this is Victor Landa coming to you from News Taco. I want to talk to you a little bit today about the president's appearance on Univision yesterday. It hasn't gotten a lot of play, at least as much as I thought it would, but that's neither here nor there. What I wanted to talk to you about was the implications about his appearance on Univision and what all that mattered in the large political sense, specifically having to do with the Latino community, because he obviously was targeting the Latino community by going on Spanish television. A couple of givens before we get started. It's given that Latinos have political influence in the United States, especially since the revelations of the census have been coming out piecemeal. Little by little, we're getting a little bit better idea of how much of an influence that is, keeping in mind always that of the total numbers, Latinos have about 41% of that total number are registered to vote, and then an even smaller are eligible to register to vote. A smaller percentage of that 41% is actually registered, and a smaller percentage of those that are registered actually go to the polls. But given all that, Latinos' political influence is growing, or else the president wouldn't have been on Spanish television. Latinos consistently cite education as their top priority. This has been happening for generations, for a very long time. Uh, Immigration was usually maybe ranked fifth or seventh. Now it's been creeping up because of all of the noise that's being done about immigration issues, specifically coming from the far right. Um, there is a 40% dropout rate, at least 40% and above dropout rate of Latinos in education. Latinos, by and large, attend poor schools, inner city schools that have very specific problems that are specific to poorer inner city districts, not necessarily having to do with Latinos in general, but just the fact that Latinos live in poverty and there is a specific need, or there are specific needs for schools in poverty. Education also is local control. In other words, there really is very little, not very little, but there's little that the federal government can do to affect a change in education as such, because that happens in the local school district level with local school district boards of directors. For instance, here in San Antonio, we have 17 school districts in our metropolitan area. That is ridiculously high, but that's fodder for another conversation. So, given all of these things, what can a president of the United States do about education? Why does he stand up in front of a Spanish-speaking audience with a microphone in hand and talk about education? Besides the point that he wants to be reelected, besides the point that the presidency is a bully pulpit, the reason I think is that with his bully pulpit, the president, any president, can influence a direction, can influence a path, can influence legislation and appropriation of money to do something about a specific subject on a larger scale. For instance, education. We've talked about, or he's talked about, a race to the moon sort of an initiative where all hands are on deck and they can do more research and implement the findings that are already there in education. Entice school districts from across the country to do things, share best practices, open up the educational industry in that sense, so that there's more sharing, so that there's more communication going on, and to lead the charge when it comes to the future of the United States, and educating those that are going to be the future bread earners, the future workers, the future uh, segment of the population that's going to be feeding into Social Security, that's going to be taking this country literally on their backs and making it work. There is an emergency to get them educated. So the president goes on Univision, on Spanish television, to talk specifically using his bully pulpit to talk about research and the dissemination of the information on research. Um, he's right to say it's an emergency, but what we need is not more talk. We need follow through, and we need immediate follow through. We need it the day after his talk, his town hall meeting. We need to know about it right away. What are we going to do? What can we do? Latinos care about education. Latinos are young, 10 years younger than the average. Latino families, setting aside those awful myths, are very interested in their child's education. Anything that you hear out there, I have a neighbor and I've seen and all this other stuff, it's all anecdotal. By and large, Latinos care about education, so it's fertile ground to do something to inspire people to make a change. And really, all we need to know, all communities need to know, is that somebody is backing them up. And maybe that was part of what the president wanted to do. Maybe he wanted to let people know that he was there to help where help was needed. And that just might be enough. But there are huge hurdles to cross. Politics at the local school district level. How does a president influence that? Funding from the state level. How does a president influence that? So yes, it's good that the president is speaking about it. It's good that he wants to be reelected. But what are the specific steps? We're at the point now where we don't need any more promises, any more rhetoric, any more town halls. We need to know specifically what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, when, and who's going to be leading the charge. Obviously, we should all be leading the charge in our own school districts, in our own localities. It would be good to have a concerted effort. It would be good to know that everybody's pulling in the right direction. That is what we're hoping for, more than another political speech and another political appearance on Spanish television. We're waiting. And of course, at News Taco, we'll let you know as soon as we hear something. So keep with us, keep with us, keep with us. and thank you for your attention. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks.